picture the billionaire we think we know. The one live streaming from a yacht party, unboxing a hypercar for millions of followers. Their life, a constant, glittering feed of noise and consumption. Now, picture the opposite. A young man, barely in his 30s, who is wealthier than the King of England. A man whose personal fortune makes the Kardashians look like pocket money. And yet, his digital footprint is a ghost. No frantic posts, no chasing trends. In an age where oversharing is currency, the most powerful young aristocrat in Britain chose silence. I'm Beatrice, and that silence, that's what I find so fascinating. It hints at a story that's not just about money, but about power, psychology, and 1,000 years of history whispering into the modern world. Today, we're going to uncover the world of Hugh Grosvenor. We'll explore the strategy, the controversy, and the quiet revolution of the man who inherited a £9 billion empire and then ghosted the world. But to understand the man who ghosted the world, you don't start with the £9 billion fortune. You start much, much earlier. You have to start with the soil. The name Grosvenor is woven into the very fabric of England. This isn't a dynasty a few generations old. Their lineage stretches back nearly 1,000 years, a timeline that puts them in the same historical breadth as the great houses of Percy or Howard. Their power wasn't built on tech stocks or market trades, but on one tangible thing: land, acres and acres of it, including some of the most valuable real estate in London. And when you're destined to inherit all of that, your education isn't about getting a job, it's about forging a leader. This is where Hugh's story begins to diverge from the script we expect. He didn't disappear into an elite boarding school at age 8. He began his education at a local state primary school, alongside children from all walks of life. From there, he went to a small, respected, but lesser-known public school, Ellesmere College. Notice a pattern? It's a quiet path, chosen for substance, not for the glamour of the name. But the masterstroke, the move that truly reveals the family's strategy, was his university choice. He didn't go to Oxford or Cambridge. He went to Newcastle University to study countryside management. Think about that for a moment. For the heir to a global property empire, why not finance? Why not law? Because that is new money thinking. That is the mindset of someone trying to acquire wealth. Hugh Grosvenor's challenge wasn't to acquire wealth, it was to preserve it, to understand its soul. Choosing to study the land is the ultimate old money power move. It's a statement, a quiet declaration that you are not merely a manager of assets on a spreadsheet, but a steward of the earth itself. It's the difference between learning how to trade stocks and learning how to build the company. It's a profound commitment to the long game. His apprenticeship continued after university. He didn't take a flashy title in the London office. Instead, he took a job at the Wheatchef Group, one of the Grosvenor estate's own companies focused on agricultural technology. He was learning the family business from the ground up, not from the top down. He was exploring how to modernize the very source of his family's ancient power. He was learning the trade, piece by piece, building a foundation of true expertise. He was preparing for a responsibility he likely assumed he had decades to grow into. He didn't, because on a warm August day in 2016, time ran out. His father, the 6th Duke of Westminster, died suddenly. And in that disorienting moment of personal loss, 25-year-old Hugh Grosvenor ceased to be the heir in training. He became His Grace, the 7th Duke of Westminster. This wasn't a celebration. There were no triumphant announcements. It was a sudden, solemn coronation of duty, carried out in the quiet shadow of grief. The world shifted not just for him, but for an empire that employs thousands and shapes cities. The inheritance was valued at £9 billion. But that number is an abstraction. The reality was tangible, almost feudal in its scale. He inherited the literal ground beneath London's most powerful feet. 100 acres of Mayfair, 200 acres of Belgravia, neighborhoods where embassies sit beside oligarchs' mansions. He inherited a global property portfolio spanning continents and a financial machine with a history stretching back 1,000 years. All the quiet preparation, the degree in managing the land, the slow apprenticeship, it was all about to be tested. Not in theory, not in 30 years, but right now. A young man, barely out of university, was just handed the keys to a dynasty. The question wasn't what he had inherited, but whether he would be its master or its prisoner. And that prison, it wasn't made of stone walls. It was built from public perception, centuries of expectation, and one very, very controversial word: tax. See, in the United Kingdom, inheritance tax is a formidable beast. It stands at a staggering 40%. For an estate worth £9 billion, that would have meant a tax bill of over £3.5 billion for Hugh. A sum that could fund hospitals, schools, entire infrastructures. But the Grosvenor family, like many of the world's ultra-wealthy, paid virtually nothing. How? Through a masterpiece of financial engineering created in the 1950s, a complex web of trusts. The concept is deceptively simple. Imagine a treasure chest. The family members, including Hugh, are beneficiaries. They can live off the gold, use the income it generates, but they never technically own the chest itself. The ownership lies with the trust, an impersonal legal entity. So when a duke dies and the title passes, the chest isn't being inherited. It's just getting a new manager. No inheritance tax. It's all perfectly legal. But in a world of widening inequality, is it right? This is the tightrope Hugh Grosvenor had to walk. He was a duke under fire. The public and the press were relentless. The family's wealth, shielded for generations, was suddenly a lightning rod for public anger. Critics, like John Christensen of the Tax Justice Network, were scathing. He famously said that for the super rich, inheritance tax had become an optional charge, a voluntary donation rather than a civic duty. The sentiment was that the Grosvenors were playing by a different set of rules than everyone else. Then, in 2017, the storm intensified. The Paradise Papers, a massive leak of offshore financial documents, revealed the intricate structures the family used, further fueling the narrative of a secretive elite hiding its wealth. The Grosvenor name was splashed across headlines, synonymous with a system that many felt was fundamentally unfair. Of course, the family had its defense. This wasn't about tax dodging, they argued. It was about continuity of ownership. It was about a sacred duty to preserve the estate, to pass it on intact to the next generation, just as it had been passed down for centuries. To them, a £3 billion tax bill wouldn't just be a payment, it would mean dismantling the empire, selling off the land that was the very soul of their identity. So you have two deeply entrenched positions. One side sees a broken system, a moral failure. The other sees the responsible stewardship of a 1,000-year legacy. What's your take on this? Is this smart generational planning or a system rigged in favor of the few? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Hugh was caught in the middle of this firestorm. A legal fortress on one side, a sea of public anger on the other. He couldn't change the past. The only path forward was to prove, through his actions, what kind of duke he was going to be. And prove it he did. Not with press conferences or defensive statements, but with something far more powerful. A quiet, radical reimagining of the Grosvenor Empire from the inside out. This wasn't a case of a young heir simply taking the throne. Hugh became an active, hands-on chairman of an international behemoth. While the family name is synonymous with London, his chessboard is global. It stretches from the sprawling industrial lands of Anahais Island in Vancouver to the gleaming residential towers of Hong Kong to the hyper-modern, sleek lines of luxury apartments in Tokyo.
But simply managing the old world of property wasn't enough. It was a rearguard action. Hugh's real response, his true masterstroke, was to pivot the entire 1,000-year-old institution towards the future. He began systematically diversifying, moving beyond the safety of bricks and mortar.
He looked at the world and seemed to ask a simple question: what will be valuable in the next 100 years? And the answers were not in land, but in data, technology, and sustainability. This was his response to the critics. He wasn't hoarding wealth, he was deploying it. Take one of his seemingly strangest investments, the Jackfruit Company, a business making plant-based meat alternatives. To a casual observer, it's random, but through the lens of a dynasty built on land and agriculture for a millennium, it's genius. This is the 21st century equivalent of buying another county. For a family whose fortune comes from the earth, investing in the future of food is the ultimate long-term play. It's a bet on sustainability, a hedge against climate change, and a profoundly old money move, thinking 100 years ahead, not just about the next quarter. This wasn't a one-off. The pattern repeats across his portfolio. Investments in Gusto, a meal kit company, in QuietLuxury, a tech firm reducing waste on construction sites, in Commonplace, a platform for community-led urban planning. Each one is a piece of the same puzzle. They represent a fundamental shift, an acknowledgement that to preserve a legacy of this magnitude, you cannot stand still. You must evolve, not just for profit, but for relevance. This was his victory. He didn't just inherit an empire, he gave it a new purpose. By steering this ancient ship into the uncharted waters of the new economy, he was making a statement more powerful than any denial. He was proving that the Grosvenor name was not about the past, but about building the future. But building the future of a company is one thing. What if, by doing so, you're quietly building the future of an entire class? This is where Hugh Grosvenor's private nature becomes his most strategic asset. In an age where high-profile figures, from Prince Harry and Meghan Markle to socialite aristocrats like Lady Kitty Spencer, navigate the turbulent waters of public opinion, his near invisibility is a radical choice. It creates a vacuum of noise, which he then fills not with interviews or sound bites, but with deliberate, impactful action. One of those actions is his work as chair of the Westminster Foundation. By focusing its considerable power on supporting vulnerable children and families, he's not just performing a duty, he is building a quiet moral authority that immense wealth alone can no longer purchase in our cynical world. And when you put all the pieces together, the strategic silence, the modern investments, the focused philanthropy, you realize the true scale of his project. He isn't just securing his family's fortune, he is rebranding the British aristocracy itself. For centuries, aristocratic power came from title and land, from a name etched on a dusty coat of arms. Grosvenor is proving that in the modern age, true influence comes from relevance. By speaking the language of venture capital and sustainability, he is transforming a 1,000-year-old brand and making it potent again. He is turning the very image of nobility from a cobwebbed relic into a dynamic entrepreneurial force. He is the quiet hand, not just managing an inheritance, but renovating the very house of nobility for the 21st century. So Hugh Grosvenor isn't just a duke, he's an architect of the future. He is providing a new blueprint for how an ancient legacy can adapt, thrive, and find relevance in a world that demands profound change. He's an emblem of what the aristocracy must become to survive. If you found this look into the world of quiet luxury and power as fascinating as I did, I would be so grateful if you liked this video. And to join us for more deep dives into the lives of the world's most intriguing figures, be sure to subscribe. We're already planning a journey into the 1,000-year history of the Grosvenor family, and you won't want to miss it.